Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. When I made my video a couple days ago about the many problems with Dave Filoni's writing and the way he approaches Star Wars and disrespects fans and so forth, it was a short video because I try to keep my videos no more than 15 minutes long in general. But a lot of people pointed out, how did you fit the many problems with Dave Filoni in such a short video? And it is true, you can talk to a great extent about this. But I did think 2 points that I made, I think, could use some further explanation. I haven't received any kickback from those comments, but I can imagine Dave Filoni fans, some responses they might make to those comments. So I wanted to take a minute and kind of get ahead of that counter argument and point out why it's still not really valid. So the first point I made, or one of the points I made, talking about Dave Filoni is in his particular writing, is that he is unable to show character progression. I talked about how Ahsoka, for example, in the Clone Wars, she was bratty, people just didn't like her, she's annoying, and fans of Dave Filoni will say, no, but they fixed that. They fixed that, you know, that they changed her, they aged her up. Yeah, that's not really character progression. That's just a jump. Now she's older, time's passed, she's a little older, wears different clothes, she acts differently. Here's why that's a problem, because somebody might say, well, so what, you can never have a time jump in your story? Is that bad writing? No, of course not. There are great examples of that. The one that comes to mind immediately is Frank Herbert's Dune, the original Dune novel. Wonderful, and you have a significant time jump between books 1 and 2 of that first novel. And I'm not going to say that I was expecting that necessarily the first time I read it through, but it wasn't jarring. It didn't feel like, once the time jump happened, I thought, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense, because that first book is talking about, and by book I mean the book 1 of the first novel. I'm not talking about further books in the series, but that first book's talking about Paul's the things he goes through and you know, the change that happens. And then when he's there with the Fremen, you know he's going to be there for a while. You know he's going to be growing, and you already are cued in to the progression and the things that he's going to learn. He's already kind of taking his steps down that path, so you don't really need to see the minutia of it. When book 2 happens, it's, oh, okay, yeah, okay, this is what I'm expecting. Now let's get on to some more action and events happening. That's fine. That's not what Dave Filoni does. He didn't do that with Clone Wars. He didn't do that with Rebels and more of his live action stuff. With Ahsoka, it was just, now she's different. We didn't see her leading to that difference because you never showed her learning from her mistakes. That one classic episode where she's just killing off her whole, you know, platoon of clones and everything like that, and is mad or sad because she's getting in trouble for it, isn't really mad or sad because she's oh my gosh, what have I done? No. And Anakin's like, it's okay, Snips, you know, everything's fine. And the end of that episode is all about her realizing that she needs to trust herself no matter what. Even if she, you know, kills people along the way, she needs to say, no, I'm in charge. We're going to do it like this. It's grating. It's infuriating to watch. That's a Mary Sue. What more do you need? That is textbook Mary Sue. And people say, well, she changed. We didn't see her moving toward that change. There's just a time jump, and then suddenly she's older, and she doesn't act that way as much. Yet because there's no written integrated progression in her change, we didn't see her heading toward that change. When she's there, we're not even seeing a look back at the change that she's made. Because of that, she still slips back into it many, many times after the supposed change that she's made. That famous episode where they go to the Citadel and they're trying to rescue, I'm blanking on the Jedi Master's name, the dwarfish guy. She's back to bratty little Ahsoka. I want to go. Master said I couldn't, but I think I should anyway, so I'm just going to do it. And the episode rewards her for that. You know, Plo Koon tells her, oh, apparently I did. You know, it's like, do whatever you want to, Ahsoka. And this speaks to a greater theme that Filoni tried to bring to Star Wars, and that's very integral to all of his live-action garbage he's doing right now, which is the theme of don't play by the rules. The Jedi were corrupt. Look, they were well-meaning, there were some good people in the system, but that whole system was pretty corrupt. He really brought that, and that wasn't a thing that was in the Star Wars universe before that. Yes, there was some measure of the Jedi. Obviously, Palpatine had blinded them to his own dark side, and you know, maybe you could Yoda might talk about a little hubris or whatever and stuff like that, but the Jedi were the good guys. That was never questioned. Filoni brought this whole like, oh, question the organization and the power structure, and by how they victimize poor Ahsoka, and she's like, I'm done, I'm leaving, and then she goes and hooks up with Bo-Katan, and stop saving all the lives you're saving, do my mission anyway because it's more important. It's just that absurd kind of writing, and Filoni introduced that little theme, and now it's just needled and needled and needled, and he's still doing it with his live action stuff. No, that's not Star Wars. That's just an example of how he's changing it. The other point that I made was about the limited types of characters that he can write. And specifically, I pointed out the limited types of females that he can write. You can look at his male type characters as well. And I was just kind of briefly mentioned it, and I pointed out, and I showed little pictures in the video of how he can only write the young Mary Sues, the wise matron type characters, or the femme fatale villains. Now, somebody just hearing me say that might say, well, hang on, what? I mean, come on, you're all about archetypes, aren't you? You got in adventure stories like this, yeah, you're going to have the young warriors, the older, more mature, with wisdom, and then you're going to have the villains. I mean, what other types are there? To an extent, that's correct, but that's not what I mean. I don't just mean he can write young warriors. No, he writes young Mary Sues, who are already amazing. They shan't be questioned. If they make a mistake, it's actually a brilliant mistake that's going to open up new ways and think outside the box and blah, blah, blah. This is Sabine Wren to the T. This is Ahsoka Tano. This is any of the popular, what's her name, Omega on the Bad Batch. That's that brand. He's not writing, and you juxtapose that with somebody like a Princess Leia, both in the original trilogy and in the EU. She was so much more profound than that, so much more three-dimensional than that. Yes, she was a young woman, a young warrior even, but she didn't need to be a young warrior and prove herself. She was a young diplomat at first, and that was darn good enough. She was a fine diplomat. And you read some of the books in the EU before she's really trained with Jedi ways yet. She's phenomenal. She's integral. You need her in that role. She can be a warrior, as she eventually learns. She is a damsel in distress at times, and there's no shame in that. You need saving at times. She helps to do the saving at times. She is also has a legitimate love interest, a legitimate heteronormative love interest. Oh my gosh, gasp! And she's a great part in a love story with that. She's you can't just label her in one little quick thing. Filoni would have done that if he'd have been writing her. She's, in fact, he does that in the way she shows up in Rebels and stuff like that at times. So that's the Mary Sue, for example, the matron character, the Luminara or Sakura, even Hera, we're wise, we're together. They're the mother type. Well, again, go back to Leia, somebody who actually becomes a mother of twins and then another child, doesn't have to stop being any of these other great things. She can still be impetuous at times and still have to learn from her mistakes at times, even though she is the wise, and you can press out of those examples. And as I said in that previous video, you might be able to look at some instances and say Clone Wars, for example, say, well, no, this character did do that. And again, you've got other writers who were working with him there. But the reason it's Filoni is because you look at the series that he's the head honcho of, Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch, the live action stuff. And these problems consistently show up again and again and again. This is how he perceives. I think it was Gore Vidal who said a wonderful quote that I'll put up on the screen if I remember. He said that every writer has a certain cast of types of characters in their mind. And it's true. And the more blessed writers have a larger cast. But these are types. And I see it in my own writing. You see it in anybody's writing, where they write a new novel and there's a new character. But that character is very similar to that type of character in the other one. Stephen King, for example, a great writer. But you see certain types of characters. As in any other writer, certain types of characters reappear. He likes to write about the young author, the young teacher, which is very much him drawing on his own personal experience. But like his protagonist in Salem's Lot is very similar to his protagonist in Joyland. Different time of life, period of life, which is very similar to I'm blanking on the character's name right now, but the main character in It, the young boy who grows up to be an author. He's got these certain types of characters. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, as I said, if you've got enough of a cast, of a wide variety of cast, if you're not writing the same story over and over again. Filoni doesn't. Filoni has very limited number of characters that he can cast, character types that he can cast, and it shows up, as I said, in the limited female characters. He's got limited villains, he's got limited main characters. Any male authority figure is always in need of correction, is always in need of some introspection. Hey, buddy, you need to rethink your basis for authority, Mr. Patriarchy. Oh, don't say that. Filoni's not like that. He's one of us. He's fighting for us. A lot of nonsense there. Anyway, I can talk more about that, but I just wanted to further expound on a couple of points that I myself saw in that first video that, you know, people who disagree with me could point this or that out, so I should more further explain that so it doesn't fall prey to that counter argument. There's more to say, obviously. I will still link in this video the link to the video I linked in the last video, which is Shev Talks, or Sheev Talks, forgot how you pronounce that. A great video going in further detail with further definitions. I think his video is like 20-some plus minutes long. And you can find other people's pointing this out as well, these problems with his writing. Hollywood, major publication industries, they like to give everything to one person who just often isn't qualified for it. But because they got a win or they got a victory with this or that over here, they get everything. And it's not good storytelling. You know, the corporates, they don't care about storytelling. They care about money, or agenda when you got the ideologues in there, you know, because agenda trumps profit for sure. But that's what we're seeing. And we can point out more. Maybe I'll do another video more that really points out how Filoni's Star Wars is privileging agenda over storytelling. People don't like to admit it, but he's privileging agenda over storytelling. In my last video, I'll link to it if you just happened upon this video without seeing that last one, I point out how he is trying to remake Star Wars into the Ahsoka Tano story, steadily, bit by brick, every era by every era. She's the connective tissue, she's the guiding voice, she's the Force itself. I mean, it's just nonsense. So I'll stop there. I'll come back with more, certainly. And don't forget, of course, might as well pitch our Star Wars EU book studies that we do on Tuesday nights. Right now we're going through Shatterpoint. Brilliant book. And we'll certainly do more from different eras. So that's all for now. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.